Hello, welcome back to Lessons Learned. I'm Sherry and this is your Wednesday video. For the past few weeks we've been working on the Jolly Bar book sampler row quilt, and we have a new row for this week, and it is going to be taken from the volume 4 Jolly Bar book on page 56, the Shoo Fly Pie Quilt. We'll be making 3 blocks of this quilt. The instructions that are given here under this note where I haven't covered up, cutting instructions, is for 9 blocks. We're only going to be making 3. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the number of pieces that you need for each of the letters in this cutting instructions box. We're not going to use all A through G. We're going to use A, B, C, and E. So for your A pieces, for all 3 blocks, you would need 12. For B, you would need 48. For C, you would need 12. And for E, you would need 48. You could absolutely mix up all of your fabric colors for all of these. There's 4 sections. You're going to make 4 sections. Here, it's showing you how to make the block in a color set section. That's what I'll call it anyway. So you could have a quarter of your block of one color set. You could take all of your fabrics and just mix them up. It would be totally fine. It would just be a scrappy version. Mine will kind of be like that, I think, with the way my K facet fabrics look. But I'm going to try to get these in some sort of, I don't know, pattern for each block. But each of my 3 blocks will look very distinct from the other. So that's 2 options for you. You can mix up all your colored fabrics into all these pieces, or you can split them out into fourths. Just use one print for this fourth, a different print for this one, a different print for this one, and a different print for this one. And then when you hook them all together, you'll be seeing the delineation between each quarter. But you don't have to do it that way. You can just mix all your fabrics up, and then all of the white that you see here, I am using black. Yours might be white, or it might be some other low volume color that you're using for your background. Okay. Fabrics. Let me show you what I'm going to do with my fabrics. Okay, so we have 3 blocks, so I've made 3 color sets. Okay, there are 4 in each of my color sets. So this is an entire block, this is an entire block, and this is an entire block. But what I'm going to try to achieve is making each of my quarter sections out of one of these fabrics. So let's just say, for example, let's see, this one's easier to see. Let me pull this over so you can see it. I have 2 black and whites, and I have 2 that are of the same print, but they're different shades, different colors. This one's pink and gray, and this one's purple and lavender, right? So I'm going to take my fabrics, and I'm going to use, for 1/4 of my block, I'm going to use 1. And then so I probably would have this black and white and this black and white catty-cornered from each other. And then this one and this one catty-cornered from each other. And that would be my 1 block. So just to recap again, here's another one. So I would have a quarter of my block this color, a quarter this color, a quarter this color, and a quarter this color. And I would probably put these 2 catty-cornered from each other, and then these 2 catty-cornered from each other. And the same thing here. So I hope this works out well, because this fabric is actually probably one of the better candidates to just mix them all up. But I want to show you that aspect of doing it. Now if you're going to do it this way, then I'm going to tell you that for each section, the number that you have to cut, rather than just saying a sweeping number for all 3 like I did in the first clip, I'm going to tell you what you need for each block if you're doing it this way. So for A, you're going to need 1, and that's out of each one of these fabrics. you're going to need, let's just point to this one, but you're going to quadruple that. For A, you're going to need 1. For B, you're going to need 4. For C, you're going to need 1. And for E, you're going to need 4. So 2 of those fabrics are your black background, or your whatever background you're using. So like your A and your C are this, and then your B and your E are your black, or your background. So I hope that makes sense to you. I'm going to go ahead and cut some out and get this going so that you can see a little bit better how this is all going to come together. Okay, I'm pretty sure that I gave you the wrong amount on that last little bit. So the A and B are the colors, and that's A1, B4, and the C and E are your background. C is 1, E is 4. So if I didn't catch that in the editing, I'm telling you now. So this is what you should have. You should have 4 background, 4 color, 1 background, 1 color of these 2 sizes. So what's going to happen first is you're going to make a half square triangle unit. And actually you're going to make 2. So you will be putting your line across. Probably the black would be easier, am I right? Take your white chalk pencil or whatever you have and make a line there, and then you're going to sew a 1/4 inch away from that line on both sides. Okay, so that will make 2 pieces for our first quadrant of our block. Let me go ahead and make that, and then I will also be doing some 4 patches, and you want to put your color top left, and then just do them opposite, and you're going to make 2 of these, and then you're going to make 1 like this, 1 like this, 1 like this, and 1 like this. Okay, so just make sure you should be able to turn them, I believe. If you make them all the same, let me see, yeah, you just 1/4 turn them on your block quadrant. So we're going to make these 2 units, and then get our 2 half square triangle units out of this. Okay, here's what our square should look like, and then I have that line right there that I'm going to cut on. So I've sewn on both sides of that line a 1/4 inch away. And then before we open this out and start doing anything to it, I want to show you how to use the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmers. If you don't have these, they're by New Leaf Carrie Carr, and you can get them on Amazon. Your quilt stores might have them, but Clearly Perfect slotted trimmers. Hard to say, I know. Website's on here, newleafstitches.com. I know that you can get them on Amazon, and I have a link for Amazon in my description box if you're so inclined, but I don't care where you get them. But I just think they're the best things. But anyway, what you do is you line it up on the, this is supposed to be 4.5 when it's done. So you line that dotted line up on your stitch line. And it's very hard to see on that black. Let me turn it over. Oh my goodness. Make sure I'm in frame here so you can see 4.5. And just make sure you have a little bit of fabric hanging over on each side. And sometimes you've just got it just right, and it's right on it, so you might have to move over a little bit. I think I've got it. I tell you what, mine's just about right, isn't it? But anyway, you would take your rotary cutter and you would cut this part and this part. There again, I'm not really feeling much coming off. And then if you want to go ahead and get your dog ears, you can go ahead and stick your rotary cutter in there and cut those off. I find that awkward. I like to just go ahead and cut my dog ears off just free-handed. So there is what you need to do. Go ahead and press this whichever way you want to do it towards the dark side. Open it. I'm going to open mine as I've shown you before. So you have 2 of these, and that's going to be 2 parts of your 1/4. So let me go ahead and do some ironing and some other stitching, and we'll place this together in a quadrant. Okay, let's talk about this quadrant. And when you're laying these out to be stitched together, it should look like this. Okay, so you're going to want to pay attention to where your colors are. I had a little bit of trouble because of this black. I was wanting to substitute that in here, but my black is white on the pattern, so I had to really switch my brain to think more about the color. The color of the fabric is the color pieces here. So just make sure you do that. Also, this block has the two color pieces here, but this very identical block has them going this way. So that's a quarter of a turn. Alright, and then so this is what this block would look like sewn together. It would look like this one. But then as they go together, all four pieces, all four quadrants, they're going to be turned a quarter turn. So this will be up against that, and then like this. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this one together and cut out two more of my fabrics that I'm using for this particular block, and the next time you'll see me, I will have one block completed. Here's my first block. I'm not regretting that I did it by print on each quarter, on each quadrant. I like it very much, and I could turn this any which way I want to according to what my other blocks may look like when I get finished. So I think this is pretty cool. So just make sure your placement is correct so that you get one color in one quadrant. Or you can just mix everything up and make it look kind of scrappy. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and make my two other blocks, and then we'll talk about the sashing. We're going to have some rather wide sashing between these three blocks, and then our coping strips on the edge. So I will be back to talk to you about that. Alright, here's my row finished. Aren't they cute? They look like some kind of critter, like a frog. I don't know. I like how they turned out, and I'm really happy that I did the quadrants in the same colors on each of them. So the sashing, the two big pieces between on either side of the middle block are 9 1/4. So you need two that are 9 1/4 by 16.5 inch long. Sew those together on both sides, and then your coping strips on the outside. I did mine just a little bit too short, so I'm going to tell you to go 3.5 on your coping strips. Measure your row once you get it together without the coping strips on the outer edges, and calculate what you need. Make it bigger if you need to. We're going to trim this whole quilt down when we get done. We're going to square it up and everything before we quilt it, so don't worry too much. More is better. We can always trim it off. So just put those coping strips, make them 4 or something just to be sure, and then trim off what you don't need to make them 70. So that's it. This is the, what is it now, the 4th row? This is the 4th row. And once we get our strips in between the rows sewn in, all of your blocks are going to be floating on your background. So don't get hung up too much on the different sashing sizes and the coping strips and all that stuff. It's all going to work out. So get your row done for this week, and we'll have that last row next week. Hopefully that'll be the last row if I decide that it is. If I decide to add another one, well, we can just do that, can't we? Change our mind anytime we want. Alright, so get busy on your 3 blocks, and again, your sashing size is 9 1/4 by 16 1/2. You need 2 pieces, and then your coping strips on the outer edge. Make them up to 4 inches, just to be sure. Alright, thanks for following along today, and I'll see you back here on Wednesday next week for a final row.